Zack Nagy, LSU Sports Illustrated. Good evening, good sir.
How we doing? It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit. Good to have you back in here. I know a lot of people were excited to get you back in here after the new year. I go all the way to the top, even when, Zack, we first started the show. You got Jude here saying, always love to hear from Zack. So the people wanted you back to hear you, and so glad that you're here with us. Zack, I don't know how else to go or say this other than to just come out and ask you. Trey Hiley turned himself in today and was arrested in Union Parish. I guess, number one, what do you know? What have you heard? And what do you think about the situation? I know that's a very open-ended question, but your thoughts on all of this today.
Yeah, so obviously the incident occurred on Friday, February 9th. And, there were some rumblings of it and people kind of whispering behind the scenes of this and that. And ultimately today, on Thursday, the 15th, he turned himself in and he's facing 3 felony charges. And one of those charges being, attempted second-degree murder. And it's a horrible situation. Obviously, it'll be the type of thing where he'll go through the court system and we'll work through there. But, Holly and 2 other guys turned themselves in and they're going to work from there. Many people believe that there are going to be a couple of other people who might have been involved as well. So it's a very ongoing situation. Clearly, that's understood at this point in the game. But unfortunate situation, and I hope for the best for Trey Hiley. Obviously, unfortunate situation here, and the truth will come to the light, whatever happened, and we'll see what it is. But looking at a football perspective, obviously now we look at a running back room that's rather thin, and obviously prayers to the people who are going through all this stuff. But from a football perspective, now you look at LSU's roster and it's a little bit thin in the running back room. So moving on and getting ready for spring, it's going to be interesting over these next couple of weeks.
All right. So with that being said, Zack, I got to admit, I have already just said my piece on it, so I'll just leave it be. I think it's more of my job to talk about this football team, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with one main thing. They don't have a choice. They got to go get it back, if not 2, in my opinion. Right? Like I just don't see a life where you go into a season with 3 scholarship running backs. Am I crazy?
No, you're absolutely spot on. And Josh Williams is fantastic, and he's going to be a great veteran presence in that locker room. But you need to go out and get a couple more dogs. And when I say more, 1, you need to go get 1 guy. So Caden Durham is going to come in over the summer, and that's a guy who can be an immediate impact player in a lot of different ways. And he's talked about wanting to improve as a pass catcher and kind of become a more dynamic football player. And then we know what Caleb Jackson's all about. You and I have talked about Caleb Jackson for quite some time now. He's a player that you and I are very fond of. So when it comes down to it, you need to go get somebody in the transfer portal in this spring window, and you got to hit the nail on the head right here, because 3 backs is not enough, and you're gonna have to get additional bodies moving forward, and that's pretty much understood.
So they're over the 85 scholarship limit. Zack, how many people do you see potentially, leaving this program? And I mean, you're talking about 2 interior defensive linemen and maybe even 2 running backs. So at bare minimum, you got to have 6 because you're already over the scholarship limit. So 6 guys have to hit the portal in the spring. I'm not asking you who they are, but I guess what position do they let some guys walk here?
Yeah, this is something that I was going to hit on a couple of seconds ago too. The scholarship count as a whole, you're over that 85 count, and there's some guys that you're going to have to let get cut loose. And I think you kind of look at the defensive backs. There's a lot of bodies that can go without this program feeling the pain, is the best way to put it. There's a lot of players in that defensive backfield who may not hurt this program by leaving. Obviously, you need to go get 2 guys at defensive line. You need to go get a running back or 2. There's a couple of different depth pieces that you have to do, and I think that you look at processing, however you want to put it, some guys in the defensive backfield. You have a lot of safeties, you have a lot of cornerbacks, and not all of them are SEC caliber guys. So you have to move forward and get under that 85 scholarship count by, I believe, August, and that's what they're going to have to do. So you look to get a running back and at least 2 defensive linemen.
I don't even want to go down the Harold Perkins route, okay? Because he scored that touchdown from a running back perspective, a lot of people are going to be asking about that. Now, maybe Brian Kelly goes to Perkins and says, "Hey, you want to test this out? See what you think." But Is there anybody that they can move on this team already to that room?
Hypothetically, you can look at somebody like Aaron Anderson and say that we could utilize him as a Debo Samuel type of guy, move him around the backfield, see what you can do there. Maybe not necessarily somebody that you line up in the backfield, but a guy that you can get the ball to in quick routes and little short tosses and stuff. But I can't necessarily look at a guy and pinpoint them and say that you can transition them to a running back role. You have Caleb Jackson, you have Josh Williams, and you have Caden Durham coming in. You have to go and get a full-time back through the transfer portal during that spring window. And look, we can talk about the word processed and use that as a term, but when it comes down to it, in the spring, you're going to have some guys that fall down that depth chart, and they're ultimately going to make the decision to go elsewhere, whether it's another Power 5 program or go to the G5 route. There's going to be guys who leave the program by their own choice. So scholarships are going to open up. There's going to be, availability in that aspect. So processed is one thing, but there's going to be guys that want to make that decision on their own and go elsewhere. So I'm not too worried about the scholarship count, in my opinion. When I'm looking at the question that you're asking, I can't see anybody on this roster right now switching over to a full-time running back role. No.
What about somebody coming in like Juwan Johnson? I look, first off, I don't see that. All right. I've been peppered with that all day since this news broke. Well, put Juwan Johnson back. I just don't think he's a running back. I don't think that he's going to want to go and meet a linebacker in the hole in a pass protection. Right? Like, if it's a third down and he's out on the play and he's got a chip block a DN and the dude at Ole Miss, the kid that had 10 sacks from Florida, he's got a chip block him and he says, "Welcome to the SEC, little man." Not little man. You get what I mean. I mean, the kid's 185 pounds. I don't know if he wants that smoke, Zach, to be honest with you. So I don't think that he's a good option. He's another name that brought up. What do you think about Juwan?
I've been seeing people in the comments and other people reaching out and asking me the exact same question. And no, I don't see Juwan Johnson as a running back at the college level. Like you said, he's a bit undersized to play that role. And moving forward, you want to transition him to a full-time cornerback spot. You have Corey Raymond on the staff now. You have Blake Baker there. Like, you have guys who are going to be in his ear trying to develop him as a full-time cornerback. So I know he's an athlete, one of the best in Louisiana high school football history. But to that, you have to prepare for the next level, and that's going to be at a cornerback slot. So you need to get developed there. You need to get prepared there. And he's not going to be somebody who I would expect to move into the backfield and do that. Obviously, with the ball in his hands, he's special, he's spectacular, and he's proven that at the high school scene. But now you're moving on to college, and the goal here is going to be for him to continue developing in this full-time cornerback role.
You know who the first person I thought, like, to give a shot to because it's not working out in his current situation is Matthew Langlois.
That's really interesting. He needs to – I mean, my only rebuttal to that would be –
play at safety, in my opinion, right?
My rebuttal to that would be is that he can't even stay healthy as a safety. So what makes me or anybody really think that you put him in the backfield getting hit constantly? What's it going to mean if he's constantly getting hit back and forth? He's not going to be able to stay healthy. I had a feeling you'd like that. Come on.
I was going on so bad. Dude. Oh, God. I just never thought in 1,000 years that Zack Nagy would be the one to come in here and say pause. Okay, so you just don't foresee Langlois getting pounded in the backfield. Oh, God. All right, but continue.
Oh, my goodness.
Continue. Oh, God.
Let's get it together. Come on.
Let's try to pull it together here. All right. So you just don't think that could be an option?
No, man, I don't. I don't see Matthew Langlois lining up in the backfield by any means necessary. You're going to attack this spring portal window, and you're going to get a seasoned vet. You're going to get somebody who's going to be willing to maybe not take on a starting role, but somebody who can potentially give you some key reps when needed.
I'm sorry, man. It just – oh, God, it's one of the best moments of the show that we've had in a while. All right. So, Zach, moving forward, they did hire a director of player personnel in Preston Tiffany. Your thoughts on that hire, him coming from Ole Miss? What have you heard about Preston?
It's a fantastic hire, and I think you look at it as an Austin Thomas hire here. You sway him away from Oxford, and this is a guy who can help in the recruiting game in a major way. He's coming in and taking over that spot that Will Redmond had before he departed to go to Auburn. And I've heard a lot of good things about Preston Tiffany. I haven't heard much, but everything that I have heard has been super positive. So looking forward to him taking over that role. I expect a lot of positive things there. I think Austin Thomas and him can expand LSU's NIL movements and try to develop more of a recruiting regimen. And obviously LSU's killing it. I guess we'll say. Pause. They're crushing it on the recruiting trail right now, and so I'm really excited to see what they can do moving forward with the 1-2 punch of Austin Thomas and Preston Tiffany.
You can get me once, you're not going to get me again on the double pause there. I do agree there. One more football question, and we'll wrap it up with some baseball stuff here. Do you think that there could be a situation where, Zach, that we look up here? Well, let me ask you like this. It's kind of a two-part question because I kind of feel like the irony this week is being missed by so many people. Let me explain. ESPN announced a $7.8 billion playoff committee expansion for the next 6 years. And today, at the end of the week, EA Sports comes out with what started all of this NIL stuff in the Ed O'Bannon case, but the new video game is back. Don't you think it's a little bit of an ironic week that 1 week you're not, you're spending $7.8 billion and no players get that, and then finally we're getting a game back, which started all NIL? Am I crazy in thinking about that?
It's a unique thought process. I didn't even think about it in that type of realm at all. Elaborate on that.
Well, I guess for me, we have heard so many people about a collective bargaining agreement, okay, in reference to college athletics, players getting paid the TV revenue, only for at the end of the week, the thing that started all of this Wild Wild West, it's got 1 million views in 30 minutes. EA Sports announces that they're coming out with a college football game. And I'm just like, 1 week we're talking about collective bargaining agreement. At the end of the week, we get confirmation that the thing that started all of the NIL was the Ed O'Bannon case. I'm just like, dude, we're coming full circle here. We're legit.
That is pretty ridiculous. I didn't even piece those two things together, but now that you kind of like bring that to my attention, you're spot on. That is really interesting to me.
Thought it was. What did you think of EA Sports coming back to video game?
Oh man, I'm excited for that. That's something that I've been playing. I was playing growing up. I played NCAA 13, 14 as much as I can. So on the old Xbox system. So I'm really excited to get that back. And obviously with the new age of NIL and basically the free agency market, once you enter the transfer portal, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of utilize that in the game too, because everybody loves building up a program, whether it's Madden, the old NCAA. So I'm excited to see how they do the whole dynasty aspect of things.
Yeah. How much money do you get in NIL?
That's what I want to see too. I was seeing some people joking around on Twitter saying like, I can't wait to steal Ohio State's quarterback and give him $1 million NIL deal and like all these different things. It's like, yeah, man, like I can't wait to see how they're going to be able to play that into the video game. So I'm super excited, man. I can't wait.
Jane Daniels get on the cover?
I sure hope so. That's something that I've been really curious about as well. I'd love to see if they use a player who just, finished in the 2023 season or if they go back a couple of years as well. But if they put Jaden Daniels on the cover, LSU fans are going to be in a frenzy because that's going to be fantastic.
Whoever is on the cover of this game will make more money than anybody in the history of the NCAA cover combined.
100%. Completely agreed.
I hope they do additions. Like if you're an LSU fan, you can do Jane Daniels or Garrett Nuss. Like it would be cool with that. Zach, LSU baseball season starts tomorrow. What do you think of this team? How much have you seen of them in the preseason? I'm sure you've seen some of them already here. What do you think of the team, and what is your realistic expectations for LSU baseball?
I'm excited. I'm really happy with Jay Johnson revealing the Friday and Saturday starters already. Everybody within the program has been extremely pleased with what Thatcher Hurd has done over the offseason from a development perspective. He's done fantastic things for this program, and obviously he earns the nod as your Friday night starter now. And Luke Holman, Alabama's ace from last year, is a guy who I've had the chance to talk to on numerous occasions, and he's really excited about the opportunity as well in Baton Rouge, and now he's going to be your Saturday night starter. So you have no shortage of elite level pitching in this bullpen. You have a lot of talent, and they've only announced the Friday and Saturday starters, and they're about to navigate 8 games in 10 days. So we're going to get the full taste of how this team is from a depth perspective in the bullpen. And then when you look at the heavy hitters, obviously it's headlined by somebody like Tommy White. So you have the talent to repeat. You have the talent to do it again. It's difficult for me to say that is the expectation just because baseball is so interesting. It's so hard once you get to the postseason to navigate just your pitching, the depth, whether you're rolling. There's so many different aspects to it, so many different layers. But I think if you're looking at it, it's hard to not say that the expectation is for them to get back to Omaha. I firmly believe that they can do that. And with the depth that they have, with the youngsters that they have, the transfers that they brought in, I think Jay Johnson went ahead and built another quote-unquote super team. And it's going to be exciting to see what they can do in 2024.
I fully agree there. Do you buy into the notion or have any of the worry that has been out there about them struggling early in the year at the plate?
I'm not going to buy into that by any means. I'm excited to just see what happens once that first pitch is thrown in game 1 and see how they can roll and see how Jay Johnson uses the talent that he has, because he did such a phenomenal job of it last year, easing guys into it like Jared Jones and stuff like that. So I just want to see how he utilizes the youngsters, because he has youngsters who are heavy hitters. But kind of to answer that question, no, I would say I'm not too worried about anything like that at this moment.
Zack Nagy, Sports Illustrated LSU Country, thank you so much for joining us, good sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, man. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, be careful who you say Paul's in front of. You might get a reaction like we did